The old Victorian house, with its creaking floorboards and slightly off-kilter front door, had always felt like a sanctuary to Mike. Now, with Sarah's presence, it felt different. Larger, somehow, fuller. It wasn't just the addition of another person, it was the addition of a history, a lineage that had been inexplicably severed, then painstakingly restitched. Susan, initially hesitant, found herself adjusting to the altered landscape of their family life. The initial shock had given way to a cautious acceptance, fueled by a quiet determination to make it work. The change wasn't immediate, nor was it painless. There were still moments of quiet tension, lingering silences that underscored the upheaval their lives had undergone. Susan's emotional journey was a complex tapestry woven with threads of confusion, hurt, and ultimately a surprising resilience. She spent hours poring over old photographs, trying to find clues, to connect with the daughter she never knew existed. It wasn't about replacing Sarah, but about understanding how Sarah fit into the mosaic of their lives. It was about acknowledging that while her own experience and Sarah's were different, that didn't mean that they weren't valid. One evening, while preparing dinner, a surprisingly ordinary event in the wake of such extraordinary circumstances, Susan found herself confiding in Mike. The kitchen, usually a place of bustling activity, felt oddly still as she spoke. "I keep looking at Sarah," she said, her voice soft. "And I see you in her. It's unsettling, and yet comforting all at once." Mike, his hand resting on her shoulder, understood perfectly. The resemblance wasn't just physical. It was in the way Sarah tilted her head when she was deep in thought, the way her eyes crinkled when she laughed, the quiet intensity of her gaze. It was a shared heritage that transcended the years of separation. "It's strange, isn't it?" Mike replied, a hint of wonder in his voice. "A whole life lived separately, and yet, here we are, piecing it back together." Their conversations became less about accusations and more about understanding. They explored the complexities of their emotions, acknowledging the pain, the confusion, the unexpected joy that had come with their new reality. They started attending family therapy sessions, not as a means to fix something broken, but as a way to grow together, to learn to navigate the uncharted waters of their unconventional family. The therapist, a kind woman with a calming demeanor, helped them unpack their feelings, to articulate their anxieties and hopes without fear of judgment. Sarah, initially withdrawn and hesitant, began to open up as well. She participated in family dinners, sharing anecdotes from her life, her voice growing stronger with each passing day. She spoke of her childhood, her dreams, her fears, revealing a young woman struggling to find her place in the world, a world that had suddenly expanded to include two parents she'd never known. She talked about her mother, her life with her mother, and the reasons why she'd never been told about Mike. It was a story of pain, loss, and ultimately, survival. One Sunday afternoon, the family went for a hike in the nearby woods. The sun dappled through the leaves, casting long shadows on the trail. As they walked, they talked, sharing stories, jokes, and observations about the natural world around them. It was a seemingly simple act, but it represented a monumental shift in their dynamic. The easy conversation, the shared laughter, were evidence of a healing family, a family finding its way. The integration wasn't always smooth. There were arguments, tears, and moments of frustration. Sarah, accustomed to being the sole focus of her mother's attention, struggled with sharing Mike and Susan's attention. Susan, despite her growth and acceptance, experienced moments of jealousy and insecurity. Mike, burdened by guilt, felt compelled to overcompensate, sometimes exacerbating tensions rather than resolving them. But through it all, they held on to the fragile threads of their newfound connection. They learned to communicate their feelings openly and honestly, striving for empathy and understanding. They developed rituals, Sunday dinners, movie nights, shared walks in the park that became touchstones of their evolving bond. Mike learned to be more present, more available to both Susan and Sarah. He acknowledged his past mistakes without dwelling on them, focusing instead on building a future where everyone felt loved and valued. Susan, in turn, cultivated patience and understanding, acknowledging her own insecurities and anxieties. She learned to embrace Sarah, not as a rival, but as a daughter who had been unexpectedly reunited with her family. Their home, once a symbol of a quiet, stable life, now echoed with the vibrancy of a family navigating a new reality. The laughter of children playing in the backyard, the clatter of dishes in the sink, the quiet murmur of conversation around the dinner table, these were the sounds of a family forging a new identity, a new chapter in their shared Camish history. One evening, as they sat around the fireplace, the flames casting dancing shadows on their faces, Mike looked at his wife and daughter. The tension, the uncertainty, the initial pain, all of it felt distant now, replaced by a quiet contentment, a sense of peace that had settled over them like a warm blanket. He saw the deep love in Susan's eyes, the trust and acceptance reflected in Sarah's gaze. He knew that their journey had been fraught with challenges, but the destination, the sense of belonging, was worth all the struggle. They had found forgiveness, not only for themselves, but for each other. This new family dynamic, so unconventional in its origins, had blossomed into something beautiful and resilient. They were not defined by their past mistakes, but by their collective strength, their commitment to each other, and their capacity for love and acceptance. Their story was a testament to the enduring power of family, the healing touch of forgiveness, and the remarkable ability of the human heart to adapt, to heal, and to find joy in the most unexpected of places. The home, once just a house, had become a haven, a testament to the power of family, however unconventional it may be. The quiet nights were filled with the warmth of connection, a connection forged in the fires of revelation, but tempered in the forge of understanding and love. The future was still uncertain, but they faced it together, a family, united and whole. The old house held their story within its walls, a story of resilience, forgiveness, and love, a story that resonated with the steady rhythm of family life. The initial awkwardness slowly dissipated, replaced by a tentative familiarity. Sarah, initially hesitant to intrude on what felt like an established family unit, gradually found her place. She started joining them for Sunday dinners, her initial silence giving way to shy contributions to the conversation. She learned to appreciate Susan's meticulously planned meals, the carefully chosen wines, the way Susan always seemed to know how to make everyone feel comfortable, even amidst the chaos of a large family gathering. Susan, in turn, watched Sarah with a mixture of wonder and affection, noticing the subtle ways she resembled Mike, the tilt of her head when concentrating, the way she bit her lip when nervous, the quiet strength in her eyes. One evening, after a particularly successful spaghetti night, punctuated by laughter and playful banter, Sarah surprised them all. She volunteered to help with the dishes, a simple act that spoke volumes about her growing acceptance and willingness to contribute. As they worked side by side, Susan noticed the delicate grace in Sarah's movements, a quiet elegance that mirrored her own. They talked, not about the complexities of their newfound relationship, but about mundane things, the new movie playing at the local cinema, the upcoming school dance, the peculiar habits of their pet dog, Buster. It was in these ordinary moments, devoid of the weight of their shared history, that a genuine connection began to flourish. Sarah's integration extended beyond the confines of their home. Mike, eager to compensate for his past absence, included her in his weekend golf outings with his friends. At first, Sarah felt like an outsider, awkwardly perched on the sidelines, observing the easy camaraderie of the group. But gradually, she found herself drawn into their conversations, sharing her own interests and experiences. Her quiet wit and insightful observations surprised them all, proving she was far more than just Mike's daughter. One sunny afternoon, she even managed to outscore Mike, much to his amusement and her own quiet satisfaction. These shared experiences, however trivial they may seem, helped to forge a genuine connection between Sarah and the men in her newfound family. The bond she formed with her half-siblings, though initially hesitant, blossomed into a genuine camaraderie. One weekend, the family took a trip to the lake, a tradition Mike and Susan had enjoyed long before Sarah entered their lives. Initially, Sarah felt like an interloper, observing from the periphery as Mike and Susan reminisced about past summers spent at the lake. But as the day unfolded, the smiles and easy banter drew her in. She participated in the boat races, giggling as she splashed Mike and her siblings. She joined in the storytelling around the campfire, sharing anecdotes from her own life, revealing glimpses of her personality, her dreams, her anxieties, creating a stronger and more intimate bond with her family. The family holidays also became pivotal events in their journey towards acceptance and understanding. Thanksgiving dinner, a normally joyful occasion, had initially felt strained and awkward. This year, however, the atmosphere was different. Sarah contributed to the meal preparation, her expertise in baking adding a new dimension to the feast. She interacted naturally with Mike's extended family, charming them with her easy laughter and genuine warmth. The conversations flowed freely, interspersed with shared memories, laughter, and the quiet hum of familial contentment. As time went on, Sarah became more confident, more comfortable in her role as a member of this unconventional family. She started participating in family activities, from movie nights to board game marathons, her laughter mingling with the easy banter of her half-siblings. She found solace in the quiet moments, the shared silences that held a deeper meaning now, reflecting not just shared history, but a growing understanding and acceptance. She helped Susan with gardening, her green thumb revealing a talent neither Mike nor Susan knew existed. These shared experiences, often simple and mundane, served to build bridges, to heal old wounds, and to forge a new, stronger family bond. Susan, initially apprehensive about Sarah's presence, found herself becoming increasingly attached. She noticed the subtle ways Sarah reflected Mike's personality, the shared mannerisms and gestures that hinted at a deeper connection. She found herself sharing secrets and confidences with Sarah, things she would not have shared with anyone else, the trust burgeoning from their shared experiences and shared family history. The insecurity she initially felt gradually subsided, replaced by a sense of pride and protectiveness towards her newfound daughter. She actively fostered Sarah's dreams and ambitions, nurturing her talent and encouraging her to pursue her passions. Mike, haunted by the guilt of his past actions, devoted himself to nurturing his relationship with Sarah. He took her on father-daughter outings, carefully chosen activities that revealed not just his commitment to Sarah, but his desire to make up for lost time. He listened to her stories, her dreams, her fears, offering guidance and support without being overbearing. He learned to balance his responsibilities to both Susan and Sarah, ensuring that each felt loved, valued, and understood. He acknowledged his past mistakes without dwelling on them, demonstrating true remorse and a genuine desire to make amends. The journey wasn't always easy. There were moments of friction, misunderstandings, and emotional outbursts. The adjustment wasn't seamless, nor was it devoid of conflict. There were arguments, tears, and moments of doubt. Sarah sometimes struggled with her newfound identity, unsure of her place within the family dynamic. Susan experienced pangs of jealousy and insecurity, and Mike's guilt continued to surface, leading to moments of overcompensation and tension. But through these trials, they learned to communicate openly and honestly, to confront their issues directly, and to prioritize their commitment to one another. The family therapy sessions proved invaluable. The therapist helped them navigate the complex emotional landscape, providing a safe space for them to express their feelings, anxieties, and hopes without fear of judgment. They learned to articulate their needs, to empathize with one another's perspectives, and to foster a climate of mutual respect and understanding. Their home, once a sanctuary of quiet domesticity, now pulsed with the vibrancy of a complex, unconventional family. The laughter of children playing, the clatter of dishes, the murmur of conversations. These sounds now formed the soundtrack of a family forging a new identity, a family evolving, adapting, and growing together. The initially awkward silences were replaced by comfortable pauses, filled with an unspoken understanding and acceptance. Their story, once fractured and incomplete, was slowly being woven back together, thread by delicate thread, creating a beautiful and resilient tapestry of family. The journey was far from over, but they faced it together, unified by their shared love, their shared history, and their shared commitment to building a life together, a life enriched by their unexpected reunion, a life filled with love and forgiveness. The old Victorian house, once a sanctuary for two, now echoed with the joyful sounds of a family found, a family whole. The air in the therapist's office, usually thick with unspoken anxieties, felt lighter that day. The weight of years of silence, of unspoken resentments and hidden hurts, seemed to lift, replaced by a tentative but palpable sense of peace. It had been a long journey, fraught with emotional turbulence, but they were finally reaching a point of resolution. Dr. Evans, their therapist, had guided them with a steady hand, providing a safe space for vulnerability and honest self-reflection. Mike, finally ready to confront his past, began by addressing the elephant in the room, his 18-year silence. His voice, initially hesitant, gained strength as he spoke. He described the panic, the fear, the sheer terror that had paralyzed him when he first learned of Sarah's existence. He hadn't been ready for fatherhood, he confessed, overwhelmed by his own anxieties and insecurities. He'd been a young man, unprepared for the responsibilities that came with parenthood, and he'd made a terrible mistake, running from his responsibilities instead of facing them. He spoke of the guilt that had gnawed at him all these years, the constant weight on his conscience, the regret that echoed in every quiet moment. He spoke of the missed birthdays, the missed milestones, the missed opportunity to know his daughter, to be a part of her life. His voice trembled as he expressed his profound remorse, not just for his actions, but for the pain he had caused Sarah and, indirectly, Susan. He looked at Susan, his eyes filled with a mixture of remorse and love. Susan, her face etched with a mixture of pain and understanding, listened patiently. She hadn't been unaware of the tension, the subtle silences, the weight that Mike tarried with him. She had known, instinctively, that something was missing, something unspoken, a piece of their life that was shrouded in mystery. The truth had been a shock, a seismic shift in their carefully constructed world. But she had also learned to understand, to empathize, to see beyond her initial hurt and anger. She spoke of her own feelings, the initial shock, the betrayal, the confusion. But her voice wasn't filled with anger or resentment. Instead, it was laced with empathy and compassion. She understood that Mike's actions were rooted in fear and immaturity, not malice. She spoke of the pain of not knowing, of the questions that had haunted her over the years, the unspoken doubts and anxieties. And she confessed that she had also harbored resentment, not only towards Mike, but towards Sarah's mother, who had intentionally kept Mike out of his daughter's life. Sarah, observing her parents from across the room, felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had carried her own burdens, her own insecurities, her own unspoken questions. The anger she'd initially felt towards her father, the bitterness that had festered within her, began to dissipate, replaced by a fragile understanding. She saw her father's genuine remorse, his deep-seated regret, and she saw her mother's compassion, her willingness to forgive. A long silence settled over the room, broken only by the gentle ticking of the clock. Then Sarah spoke, her voice quiet but firm. She expressed her understanding, her acceptance. She spoke of her own journey of self-discovery, the challenges she had faced, the questions she had grappled with. She thanked her father for finally being present in her life, for acknowledging her existence, for seeking to make amends for his past mistakes. The apology wasn't just words, it was a commitment to change, a promise of a future built on love, understanding, and forgiveness. Mike acknowledged his failures, not as a means of seeking absolution, but as an act of genuine contrition. He expressed his love for both Susan and Sarah, his desire to build a strong and loving family, a family that could withstand the storms they had weathered together. The atmosphere in the room shifted. The heavy weight of the past began to lift, replaced by a fragile but growing sense of optimism. The healing process had begun, a journey toward reconciliation and healing that wouldn't be easy, but one they were prepared to face together. Later that evening, gathered around the dining table, the family enjoyed a simple meal: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans, a meal far more meaningful than any lavish feast. The conversations were easy, interspersed with laughter and shared memories. They talked about plans for the upcoming summer, trips they could take together, family vacations that would cement their newfound bond. There were still lingering questions, unspoken anxieties, but the air was thick with a newfound sense of unity and shared purpose. The house, which had initially felt like a battleground of unspoken emotions, now felt like a sanctuary, a space where love and forgiveness could flourish. Sarah helped Susan with the dishes, the clinking of plates and the quiet hum of conversation forming a counterpoint to the peaceful silence that had once prevailed. Mike watched them, his heart swelling with a love he hadn't known he could feel, a love that transcended the pain and guilt of the past, a love that embraced the future with hope and optimism. The following weeks were a testament to their growing bond. They spent more time together, engaging in shared activities, creating new memories to replace the ones they had lost. Weekends were filled with family outings, hiking trips, picnics in the park, movie nights huddled around the fireplace. They rediscovered the simple joys of family life, board game nights, sharing stories, and laughter that echoed through the house. Mike actively sought to understand Sarah's life, her aspirations, her dreams. He learned about her friends, her schoolwork, her passions. He supported her in her extracurricular activities, attending her school plays and cheering her on at sporting events. He listened to her stories, her struggles, her triumphs, offering guidance and support, but respecting her autonomy and independence. Susan, in turn, took on the role of a nurturing mother figure to Sarah, offering advice and guidance, but respecting Sarah's need for her own space and identity. She involved Sarah in family traditions, teaching her the recipes that had been passed down through generations, sharing family stories, and fostering a strong sense of belonging. She realized that Sarah wasn't a threat to her relationship with Mike, but an addition to their family, a daughter she had never known but loved unconditionally. The journey wasn't always smooth. There were moments of tension, disagreements, and hurt feelings. But they had learned to communicate openly and honestly, to confront their challenges head-on, to seek resolution rather than allowing resentment to fester. They had developed a strong foundation of trust, respect, and love that allowed them to navigate their difficulties with grace and resilience. The change wasn't just external, it was internal. They had embarked on a journey of self-discovery, of healing old wounds, of confronting their own demons. They had learned to forgive themselves and each other. The process had been painful, challenging, at times even devastating, but it had ultimately brought them closer, forging a stronger, more resilient family unit. Their story was a testament to the enduring power of love, forgiveness, and the resilience of the human spirit. The past was still there, a part of their shared history, but it no longer held the power to define their future. Their future was bright, full of hope and promise, a future built on a foundation of love, understanding, and acceptance. They had found their way back to each other, not just as a family, but as a team, ready to face whatever life threw their way, together. The scent of wood smoke and roasting marshmallows hung heavy in the air, mingling with the crisp autumnal breeze. Laughter, light, and carefree drifted from the circle gathered around the crackling bonfire. It was a Saturday night, and for the first time in what felt like forever, the feeling in the air wasn't strained or heavy with unspoken words. It was a feeling of belonging, a comfortable familiarity that had taken root slowly, painstakingly, but with a depth and permanence that surprised them all. This wasn't just a family gathering, it was a celebration. A celebration of a newfound understanding, of a family redefined, not by blood ties alone, but by the powerful bonds of love, acceptance, and shared experience. Sarah, nestled between her mother and father, felt a warmth spread through her, a warmth that had been absent for so long. She'd always known, deep down, that she was missing something, a piece of her puzzle that felt incomplete. Now, that piece was firmly in place, creating a whole picture that was far more beautiful and complex than she'd ever imagined. Susan, watching Sarah's easy laughter, felt a surge of love so profound it almost overwhelmed her. Initially, the idea of Sarah entering their lives had been terrifying. The disruption to their established routine, the potential for conflict, the upheaval of their carefully constructed world, these were fears that had haunted her in the wake of Mike's confession. But as time went on, those fears had been replaced by a different kind of love, a love that encompassed the unexpected, the messy, and the beautiful imperfections of life. She saw in Sarah not a threat, but a gift, a chance to expand her heart, to love in a way she never thought possible. She found herself thinking back to a life she had always imagined, a life in which she and Mike would have 2 kids. Yet, this life was richer. It was a life that was undeniably hers, a life brimming with an abundance of love and happiness. Mike, observing his wife and daughter, felt a wave of emotion wash over him, a potent mix of gratitude, love, and relief. The journey had been difficult, fraught with guilt, regret, and the constant weight of his unspoken secret. But the pain of the past had been overshadowed by the joy of the present, the unexpected and immeasurable happiness that this newfound family had brought into his life. He had finally found a peace he hadn't known he was missing, a peace that stemmed from openness and honesty, from the acceptance and understanding that had blossomed between them. The image of his family gathered around the crackling fire was one that he had never dared to dream of. Yet, here it was, a reality that surpassed any expectation he had ever held. The family life he had craved was far more fulfilling than he had ever imagined, richer and more profound. He had never known the power of family until this moment. As the flames danced and flickered, casting long dancing shadows, the conversations flowed easily. They shared stories, memories, dreams for the future. They laughed at inside jokes, reminisced about past adventures, and made plans for new ones. There were still moments of quiet reflection, moments where unspoken emotions lingered beneath the surface. But even in those quiet moments, there was a shared understanding, a mutual respect, and an unspoken acknowledgement of their shared journey. The next day, they went on a family hike through the nearby woods, a trail that wound its way through towering pines and across gurgling streams. The landscape mirrored the journey they'd been on, winding, sometimes challenging, but ultimately leading to breathtaking vistas and a sense of shared accomplishment. They fell into an easy rhythm, their footsteps keeping time with the natural world around them. Sarah, surprisingly adept at navigating the terrain, led the way, pointing out interesting flora and fauna. Susan, always the planner, had thoughtfully packed a picnic basket filled with their favorite treats. And Mike, ever the protector, kept a watchful eye on them, ensuring their safety and well-being. The hike provided an opportunity for deeper conversations that weren't forced or contrived, but flowed naturally from the shared experience. They talked about their hopes and dreams, their fears and anxieties, their shared history, and their aspirations for the future. The silence that had once separated them was gone, replaced by a comfortable companionship that transcended the spoken word. It was in those quiet moments, walking side by side through the woods, that the true depth of their connection became apparent. Later that evening, gathered around the dining table, the family enjoyed a simple meal, a pasta dish lovingly prepared by Susan, her skill and artistry reflecting the love she now felt for her expanded family. The conversation was lively, filled with laughter and shared stories. They talked about Sarah's college applications, Mike's upcoming work project, and Susan's plans for a pottery class. The meal felt special, not because of its extravagance, but because of the feeling of togetherness, the sense of belonging, the palpable love that permeated the atmosphere. This wasn't the perfect family, not by a long shot. There were still challenges ahead, disagreements to be resolved, and emotions to be navigated. But they had discovered something precious in their journey, the ability to forgive, to understand, and to love each other unconditionally. They had redefined family, not as a static entity determined by bloodlines and lineage, but as a dynamic, evolving entity based on love, acceptance, and unwavering support. The traditional definition of family had been broken, but from those shards a new and stronger unity emerged. It was a unity that was forged in the fires of adversity, tempered by forgiveness, and strengthened by love. One evening, as the family sat together watching a movie, Sarah turned to her father, a thoughtful expression on her face. "You know," she said softly, "I used to think that having a family meant having all the same blood, But now I realize it's about having people who love you, who support you, who are there for you no matter what. And that's something more powerful than anything. Mike reached out and gently squeezed her hand. He understood. He had spent 18 years believing that he'd failed in his duty as a father, that his actions had irrevocably broken a fundamental aspect of family life. However, he now realized that family was more than just blood and biology. It was about the choices you made, the love you shared, the bonds you forged, and the understanding you cultivated. He looked at Susan, her eyes shining with love and pride. He'd found a family far richer than he'd ever dreamed possible. Susan in turn felt a profound sense of gratitude. Her life had been shaken to its core by Mike's confession, but the resulting chaos had given birth to something new, something more significant. A family that was bound not by chance or circumstance, but by a conscious choice to love and support one another through thick and thin. She understood now that their love story wasn't just about her and Mike, but about the three of them, creating a new family unit, a cohesive whole. The journey wasn't over, but the path ahead felt brighter, clearer, more certain. They were a family, not just in name, but in every meaningful sense of the word. Their bond was resilient, capable of withstanding the storms of life, and strengthened by their shared experience and the love that shone brightly between them. They had found their way to a deeper, more profound understanding of what it truly meant to be a family, and they were ready to embrace the future together. The unexpected circumstances that brought them together had transformed their lives, creating a family unit bound by an unwavering commitment to love, forgiveness, and mutual support. It was a family that transcended traditional notions of kinship, one that found its strength in its unique composition and the profound bond that united its members. The following Christmas was unlike any they had experienced before. The house, usually decorated with a quiet elegance reflecting Susan's refined taste, burst with an exuberant, almost chaotic energy. Sarah, brimming with holiday cheer, insisted on decorating every inch of the available space, resulting in a riot of colourful ornaments, twinkling lights, and strategically placed candy canes. Mike, usually reserved, found himself laughing along with her, helping to hang garlands and string popcorn, his heart filled with a warmth that surprised even him. Susan, initially apprehensive about the potential for festive chaos, discovered a newfound joy in participating in the merrymaking, finding a comforting rhythm in the flurry of activity. The aroma of roasting turkey, gingerbread cookies, and spiced cider permeated the air, creating a sensory tapestry of festive delight. The traditional Christmas Eve dinner was a boisterous affair, filled with laughter, animated conversations, and the clinking of glasses. They shared stories of Christmases past, each member contributing to the narrative tapestry of their newly formed family history. Sarah spoke of quiet Christmases spent with her mother, memories tinged with a bittersweet longing that had now been replaced with a sense of joyful completeness. Susan recounted her own childhood Christmas traditions, sharing anecdotes that painted a vibrant picture of her upbringing. Mike, for the first time, felt comfortable sharing his own memories, acknowledging the void he'd carried for so long, the absence of a daughter that now felt surreal. On Christmas morning, the excited shrieks of Sarah as she discovered the gifts beneath the tree echoed through the house, a testament to the joy and wonder that had found its way into their lives. There were thoughtful gifts, practical gifts, silly gifts, each one carefully chosen, reflecting a deepening understanding of each other's personalities and preferences. The act of giving and receiving gifts became a powerful symbol of their newfound connection, a tangible expression of the love and affection that bound them together. Later that day, they bundled up in warm coats and hats and ventured out into the crisp winter air, building a snowman in the backyard, engaging in a playful snowball fight that ended in peals of laughter and rosy cheeks. The simple act of playing in the snow brought them closer, their shared laughter dissolving the lingering remnants of past anxieties and insecurities. That day, the snow served as a blank canvas, each snowflake a fresh beginning, and each playful snowball a reminder of their shared journey towards a brighter future. Beyond the holidays, their newfound family continued to create their own unique traditions. Sunday brunches became a regular occurrence, a time for sharing stories and connecting over leisurely meals, each shared breakfast a testament to their expanding family unit. Movie nights transitioned from quiet affairs to family gatherings, complete with popcorn, blankets, and lots of laughter. Even mundane tasks, like grocery shopping and home maintenance, took on a different flavor, infused with shared effort and easy camaraderie. They began taking family vacations, choosing destinations that catered to their shared interests, from hiking in national parks to exploring bustling city streets. Each journey strengthened their bond, creating lasting memories filled with shared experiences. A trip to the coast allowed them to marvel at the ocean's expanse, their shared awe inspiring a deeper appreciation for the beauty of the natural world. A weekend camping trip provided an opportunity for quiet reflection amidst the serenity of nature. Each experience, both grand and mundane, served as a cornerstone in their newly established family history, solidifying their identity as a cohesive unit. One summer evening, they decided to have a spontaneous picnic in a nearby park. Sprawled on a checkered blanket surrounded by the vibrant hues of a sunset, they engaged in a light-hearted game of cards, their laughter blending with the gentle sounds of nature. The simple act of being together, enjoying the quiet pleasures of life, filled them with contentment. The shared moments, both simple and grand, created a cohesive narrative, an evolving story of their transformed family unit. The challenges they faced were not erased, but they seemed less daunting when shared. Conversations, once difficult and strained, became easy and open. Sarah's college application process, initially a source of anxiety, transformed into a cooperative effort filled with support and encouragement. Mike's work-related stresses became less burdening when shared with his family, whose unwavering support provided him with strength and resilience. Susan, previously burdened by the fear of disruption, found unexpected fulfillment in supporting her family's growth. Their unity was not a mere absence of conflict, but a conscious choice to navigate difficulties together. Disagreements arose, as they inevitably do in any family, but they were met with understanding and empathy, rather than accusation or blame. They learned to communicate effectively, expressing their feelings openly and honestly, creating a safe space for vulnerability and mutual support. This safe space allowed their individual personalities to shine, creating a vibrant blend of unique talents and perspectives. Their bond wasn't about uniformity, but about celebrating their differences while valuing their shared humanity. One evening, as they sat around the fireplace, Sarah remarked on how quickly time had passed since Mike's initial revelation. She spoke of her initial apprehension, her fear of rejection, and her eventual acceptance of her newfound family. She confessed to feeling a sense of relief, a release of tension that had been present for her entire life. The unspoken bond with her biological father created a feeling of completeness she had craved for so long, the feeling of being a full person without missing any part. Mike responded by acknowledging the guilt and regret he'd carried for years, the weight of his silence, and the pain his actions had caused. He expressed gratitude for the opportunity to build a relationship with Sarah and acknowledged that his prior life was less fulfilling than the current one. He looked at Susan, his wife, and saw a depth of love and understanding he had never previously conceived. Susan shared her initial fears and anxieties, the unexpected upheaval of her established life, and her gradual acceptance of Sarah. She spoke of the unexpected joy she'd found in their expanded family, the unforeseen richness it had brought into their lives. She expressed gratitude for the love, understanding, and forgiveness that bound them together, recognizing the strength of their shared resilience and the beautiful life they created together. Their conversations flowed easily, their laughter echoing through the room, each shared story a testament to their journey. It was a journey of acceptance, understanding, and the undeniable power of love to overcome challenges and forge stronger bonds. The challenges were not eliminated, they were transformed into opportunities for growth and mutual support. Their shared journey had redefined their understanding of family, moving from the confines of traditional definitions to an expansive and profound acceptance of love in all its forms. The unexpected changes to their lives had created an enriched bond, one that transcended the traditional notions of family, fostering a deep sense of belonging and mutual support. It was a family that embraced its unique composition, transforming the unexpected into a testament to the resilience and beauty of their shared love and unwavering support for one another.